As I continue working toward finishing this painting, I need to keep in mind some of the information that I did in the thumbnail. Probably the most important is, how did we keep this highlight of color running down through the middle, and what was happening with the dark spaces? So as I work on this, I'm going to need to think about how to keep it happening. I'm a little bit unhappy. Here, let's look at the photograph just a tiny bit here. I'm a little bit unhappy with what's happening up in here because I'm feeling like it's taking my eye too much and taking away from the center of interest that I have happening down in here. So I want to work on that a little bit. I want to knock this down a little bit, but I also want to make the strength of this run through here continue working. And there's a few little things that I can do to make that a little bit stronger, a little bit more interesting. But let's start with up in here, and then I can think about, what I'm going to do to maybe bring some more dark over in here. If you probably remember when we were doing this, I ran out of dark when I was over in here, knowing that I could come back in and do more later. But this area, I think it needs more dark in there. It's a little too broken. I like the light, but it's it needs to be knocked down some. So I still have some of my darks mixed in my pan here. Let me just add a little water to all of them. I forgot to do that before I turned the video on. As you may remember, we had three piles of paint mixed here. One that was ultramarine blue and sap green, one that was phthalo blue and sap green, and both of them dulled down a little bit with burnt sienna. And my third pile here is going to be ultramarine blue, and I need to make a little bit more ultramarine blue and sap green without the burnt sienna in it, so that it's a little brighter green. The ultramarine blue is still going to dull the green down some, just because of its nature. It keeps the sap green from being quite so bright. It knocks it down a little bit there. That's still my medium green there. I think that's going to be good, the medium green. Now, there was a spot here that I didn't like. Oh, that was the other thing. I wanted to put some brighter oranges in there too. So I need to mix a little bit of that. Do I want to do it with, well, here, this is what we were using New Gamboge. Got a little New Gamboge mixed up in there already. I was adding quinacridone rose to it. More New Gamboge. And it's not my brightest of the oranges. And I actually, over in this other pan, let me clean that up a little bit. This other pan, I had a little bit of vermilion here. And let's add some of the New Gamboge to that vermilion. Oh yeah, that makes a much brighter orange. Okay. So now, we're wanting to knock this little area down some, but I also, while I'm doing it, want to maybe still find that ferny look of the, just take some up into this dark, the ferny look of how the California poppies have got these broken leaves that look almost fern-like. Maybe make that a little bit darker and just a little bit of light on there, not as much. That was an interesting little piece there. Let's see if we can create a little more of that. big spot here that was going to maybe turn into something else, but I didn't like it, so I'm going to paint right over it. Do a little positive painting here of those ferny spaces. And, you know, let's just come in and I'm going to put a little more green into there just to dull that whole piece down. And now let's let a little bit of orange show through here and there. I'm seeing some in the photograph and I'm liking it, but it was like these spaces were a little too light. And let's just get those a little darker. And maybe a few even darker spaces, especially here above this flower. Let this space be even a little darker. It's damp in there, so it's going to make a little soft space there. Hopefully that doesn't then become distracting on its own. Right into that. Okay, I have a feeling I should leave that space alone now. It's perhaps looking a little bit better. And this, remember, this was going to go really quite dark in this area to make this dark that runs up through here. There was something here that I wanted to break up a little bit too. It was a little too straight of a line there. Does that help some? All right, now that needed to go darker up in there too, and that had to be a brown, didn't it? So we need the burnt sienna. We needed the ultramarine blue. And let's just put a little Quin Rose in there. Go back a little more burnt sienna. And a little more ultramarine blue. We'll use the same combination to make the purples down in there, but it'll be a different proportion of each. Okay, so now let's get some of these shadows working across through here. There is a just wanted to dull that down a little bit, not quite that much, so I'm lifting some of that off. So that stem still shows, but it doesn't show quite so strong. And it can have a wee touch of green on it too. That's better. And then I can have a wee touch of green up there, but not too much. Not too much. That's too much. Okay. And then this can go a little darker over here and then find its way in among those leaves. Now, is that enough there? Don't want it overly. Here, let's just give some brown in that ground. This is dried a little bit more now, so I can come back in here with this a little bit darker and get that darker working up into here now that that piece dried some of the green that I put in there. Okay, now. There is some green. There are some green branches. There are some green branches that run down through here and a couple places in there that I need to have as part of this. So let's go ahead and get those guys in next. Let's see, that's this little guy here. Comes out of way up there. Okay. We have a branch that's going to come down in through here. Get that paint back on there. And remember, we left that little green spot in here. I'd forgotten about that little guy. Left that in there. A little bit more of a calyx around this. Okay. Down in here, there's another branch that comes in. No, this is, yeah, we've got, there's a couple of things that are not quite the way I did them. We're going to have to change this a little bit, but that's okay. We'll just change it. So I'm using quinacridone rose for that. I'll lift that through that space there. And this guy feels like it could use just a wee touch of red on one side of that. This one up here needs a little red on it. And one little seed pod, flower bud, that want to have that happen in there. And there's another one right here, but it's so small it doesn't really work. Now, our next thing is going to be to do the rest of that purple down in here, and I need to add more burnt sienna, or more burnt sienna, no, I need to add more ultramarine blue to my purple mixture here. Get a little closer to what we were using before. This is looking fairly close. It's going to be the skinny lines, so if it doesn't exactly match, it's not going to matter too much. Now I need to think about what direction these shadows actually flow here. And so as I paint the little skinny lines in, they need to be in the proper direction. And I just want to get my hand in here. I'm going to just set this here so that I can get into here and paint this better. So this is where I'm going to be painting, and then there's a stem that runs all the way through this, back into here. And these stems break apart, come up into this, another stem behind that, a stem coming off of here, we have a stem coming off of that one, all running back into here. And then we have these beautiful little leaves. So we see them better in the shadow than anywhere else in the picture. There's a bunch of branches up in here and some more of these cut leaves. Back in this area, there's a combination of green leaves and shadow that works through there. Now this stem needs to have its shadow, which, yeah, I don't have the stem in quite the right place, so we'll just bring it out somewhere else here and bring it down until it comes and touches there. And then we have some more leaves that run across and through here. They sort of fan out from a center. Hopefully I'm getting this close enough. You know, as we said before, we didn't want to be absolutely exact. I'm not trying to get this to be a photorealistic piece, but it needs to feel like what we want. area just a wee touch more with those shadows. Paint is dry and it's leaving little, I've got to be careful that it's not leaving too rough of spaces. These stems are all running at this kind of an angle through here. And this one here is actually a shadow. There'll be a shadow running through here. This guy here needs to have a shadow, which we don't have. Okay. Some of those greens are in the shadow underneath of the flower, and let's let that be shadowy right there, like that. Okay, so now one other thing that I'm thinking is that I think I actually need to lift a little bit out of the centers of these. Damp brush, and maybe I even need my smaller brush to do it. The stamens in here come out in a little fan out of that center. So I'm dampening my brush, coming in here and lifting on the same line through these dark spaces. And then when it feels like it's not lifting and picking away the paint any longer, I'm going to clean that brush, come in again. And let's maybe lift another one over here. Getting my head in here too far, I'm sure. Let's lift a couple in here. And yeah, that helps to come in with a damp rag and just lift that up, back up off of there. Those light areas that I sort of had there just weren't quite strong enough. This is going to pull our eye right down into those areas. This one here, definitely some. There was some nice dark that went back in here behind, but in the process it made those a little shorter. And we had this nice orange. This guy here could go even just a little darker. And this could go even a little darker right down in there, leaving behind some of those light spots. A little bit darker right in here. Okay, there anything else that may be a little more dark right in here? Always easy to add a little bit of dark at the end. If you go in a little too rapidly with it, sometimes it's hard to sort of see what you've done. And get a little heavy-handed with the dark. So I always like to be a little slower getting it developed, so that I don't sort of go too quickly with it. And let that stem be a little stronger there. And yeah, let's just want that dark, but not too dark. The stem has a, oh, I see what's happened to it. Actually went across this a little too much, and now I'm going to need to come in with my damp and get that right now before anything bleeds back into there. Okay. Just little bits. Little bits. I think we need to just leave this alone at this point. I really do. Oh, but I do see one more thing. I always see one more thing. This little right here. I could go just a wee touch darker there. And this guy here, he also could have a little center on him because it's a little bud that's there. All right, and oh, we didn't get the little dark centers. There's a little tiny spot. It's not very big, but it's a little tiny spot in the center of each of these. The front here could use a little interest of some sort. I'm thinking that maybe just a tiny splatter down in there is going to be interesting. So let me cover things and get the just sort of doing a combination of a little bit of an orangey green. Just to give that front some texture, because otherwise it's awfully bright looking. That looks better. Maybe we could do, let's cover back here and do just a wee touch right across through there. There, just a wee little bit. Doesn't take much. Okay. I think that's time to stop. We'll put a signature on it and then we'll be done. And, do I want it that dark? Let's do it with one of the greens. Maybe that little pink edge on it. This guy needed his dark side. There, it comes in through there light across that. A couple little things as I look at this that are just a little out of balance, and that's I now put in this dark space here, and I need to continue it across through here, and I also probably need to add some equally dark up in here, because otherwise my eye really goes to this, and so it needs some dark companions. So we can take this purple, remember it was all the same color, and I'm going to just add some more burnt sienna to that. And there we go. Voila, we've got a dark brown. So now this dark brown is going to come through here. And in the photograph there was some leaves and stuff over there, but I don't care if they're showing. I think it's more important just to get some dark running through there. And then I want to have some of this dark, and maybe this will allow this guy here to stand out just a touch more, which won't hurt a thing. Ferniness be there. And then let this be some shadows that run across through there, and maybe that's a little darker right up there, and then this gives that intersection between how dark that was, and just make it so that there's not such a sharp change. It's not such a sharp change, then my eye isn't going to go to it quite as rapidly. And just add a little more here, maybe just a wee touch of ultramarine blue in there to darken that down. Get that real dark running through there, and get a little more dark up here. And the top of that rock, let's not let that get too... Let's just get some texture in across it. And then this little spot right here needed some splatter too. And so I need to cover my flowers. Get my toothbrush on here, and some brown splatter would probably be just lovely here. That's nice. Just a hair. Okay, Margaret, walk away from it. You're going to start making problems if you do anything else. So I think that is as done as it's going to get.